And are there any other I mean, I'm going to ask you. I don't know even if you know the answer to this, right? Because Africa is such a big place, such a big place. But are there any other companies that are doing what you're doing in other parts of Africa, or even in other parts of Western Africa?
Um, there are other companies working in this area, of course. I mean, you have the mobile companies down there, which um, are doing some services, but they're not very well serving Guinea-Bissau and Guinea, and also in Sierra Leone, it's a similar case. Uh, in other places like Senegal, they have a huge amount of success because they have been there a long time and they actually build the infrastructure there. In Senegal, you can go to a hotel and you can get access to the internet at 2 to 4 megabits over ADSL infrastructure. So you actually can work with the internet. It's not that fast as in Europe, but it's like usable and it's has reasonable prices. In other places, it's more difficult. Like if you go to Mali, it's inland. They only have access over satellite. So there, they have similar problems. If you go to Nigeria, you can get high-speed internet. But that depends also on the infrastructure of the country. They have fibers which were built around the coast. And those fibers, like there's a big fiber going from Europe down the coast. It ends up in Dakar. It ends up in Banjul. It was meant to actually connect to Bissau, but when it was built, the government wasn't stable enough. So they skipped Bissau, and then it goes further down the coast. And so one of the problems that we have to fix is actually to get access to this fiber, and that's the first thing we have to do, because otherwise you don't even get the bandwidth in, even if you have the most fantastic network in the country. If you cannot connect it to the internet somewhere, it doesn't help. So our plan is actually to go up 250 kilometers to Banjul to connect to the sea fiber there, and then down 400 kilometers to connect to Conakry. To actually be able to get the bandwidth in the first place.
Okay, very good. And what sort of team do you have in place? Because this is a major undertaking.
Yeah, well, our team is relatively small yet. We're going to need a lot of people on the ground, but because we have built other networks in other places, we know where we can get the workforce to get the specialized things done. I mean, if you build cell towers, then you need people on the ground who have the local expertise on how to dig in that area, who have the cranes and the tools which are locally used to do this. And you need some concrete delivery and so on. So this part you basically outsource to local parts. Then you have a technical part of it where you just get in the experts from Germany, from Iceland or wherever they are, which just come and put the technical infrastructure in. We do all the network planning ourselves because I've been doing this since 30 years. And my partner, David, he has been building broadcast TV stations in that area. He's living since 20 years in West Africa. And so he knows how to deal with the government. He knows how to get the licenses. He knows how to get the building permissions. He knows how to protect, fibers in the ground so it's not being digged up for the copper, which is actually not in it. And, how to make the things secure in this environment, because he knows all the people on how to deal with them in the government and how to get things done quickly, which is extremely valuable in this project. And so we're going to build up a team relatively fast of key people who will run this business. And then we bring in external workforce to actually build the infrastructure fast. And we're not reinventing the wheel here. I mean, the solar panels and battery systems, you can buy them off the shelf. I mean, there's companies who do nothing else than produce such systems, so we're not reinventing it. So you just go to those companies and say, well, we have 1,000 towers to serve. We need so many units in that time. And they ship you complete systems, and then you need some local guys to, screw them to the tower. And that's not that difficult to do. And you need then people who overview the whole thing to make sure that they're doing the work properly. But I don't see that part actually as a big challenge, because I've done that a few times and I know what it takes.
Yes, given it would be different if I was in charge of the project, but given your background in setting up similar projects in Iceland and Switzerland, and then your is it David? He's on the website. David Vine. That he's built television towers in that part of the world and has contacts and understands the system. Okay, that makes it promising. And any other challenges that Cajutel faces that we haven't covered?
I don't really know now. I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean,
all right. Well, let's talk about the opportunity then. What other opportunities, or where do you see it going, or what's the potential for it within 3 years, 6 years, 12 years?
Well, it depends a little bit on how much money we are going to raise. If we're raising $12 million, then we're going to build Guinea-Bissau. And if we raise the full amount, then we're including Guinea. And, if it goes really well, then we could probably go into Sierra Leone, where I have some contacts, which we're trying to do a similar thing. We could go into Mali. I'm not so sure about the political situation there. That's still one of the issues. But there's room for expansion.
Yes.
And there's other countries as well. And but even if we stay in the same country, you just make it better and faster. And there's 100% of the population to grow, and we're only predicting 14% in 6 years.
Yes.
So there's a long-term plan to build more, and then there's other things which you can do on top of this. You can start providing internet TV. On top of that infrastructure, you can provide telephony on this infrastructure. And, there's a whole chain reaction which you can do. And we have a few other project ideas as well for this area where there is need, which are totally out of telecommunications. But, there's room for a lot of business there. You just have to pick the ones which are the most interesting or the easiest to do in relation to the profit that they give.
Great. Okay. And can you tell us a bit about the ICO?
Well, we launched the ICO.
Yep.
And if people want to participate, they go to our website. There's an Ether address. If you scroll a little bit up, you will see it.
Here.
Yeah, it's this address. There's also a QR code further up. So what you do is you send Ethers to that address, and you automatically get returned Caju tokens into your wallet. This is coded into the smart contract, so we don't have to do anything for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the more Ethers you send, the more Cajutel tokens you get. And the earlier you get into the game, the cheaper the price is.
Okay.
And we have put up 5 phases.
What's the current phase?
We're currently in phase 1, where the token is sold at 0.05 Ethers. Mm-hmm. And then it goes to 0.075, 0.1, 0.15, and 0.2, I think, is the scaling. It's documented in the white paper. And so we have the first 100,000 tokens in phase 1. In phase 2, we have another 100,000 tokens. No, 10,000 tokens, I'm sorry. Phase 3 is 100,000 tokens. Phase 4 is 200,000 tokens, and phase 5 is I think 300 or 400,000 tokens. So the earlier you get in, the less you pay. But there's still a lot of tokens there.
Yeah.
I mean, we just started with the ICO, so there is still some room to get in, and
that makes
we hope to close this in a month.
Is that a total of 750,000 tokens?
Well, there is 720,000 tokens. It's actually on section 9,
right.
Almost at the end. We're issuing 720,000 tokens to the ICO market.
Yeah.
The thing you have to know is the number of tokens are not going to increase. This is because a token is a share, and you want to increase the number of shares, you need the shareholders' decisions. So it's not like in other cases where the company would just go and throw new tokens to the market and make a lot of money. In our case, the token is a share, and the amount of tokens is not so easily increased. This would, for example, if we would, take the decision at some point in the line to go into Mali, which is currently nowhere in the plan, then we might need additional capital, and then it might be a company decision to do this and issue new shares for then extending the whole thing. But at the current time, this is not planned in any way.
Okay, and would that be a new token, or you'd increase the supply of these tokens if that were to happen?
I would have to actually figure that out at that time if we would have to do a token swap technically, which means you create a new token and you just give all shareholders new tokens. You just replace all the tokens. Or if you could do that somehow in the existing contract. Because a share of the company is a share of the company. So even if you would have new and old tokens, they would all be the same. They would have to be treated the same.
Sure. Okay. And let me see. What else do people need to know? And will there be structure set in place to be in communication with the token holders?
Yeah, of course, we have different ways of communicating with token holders. We have a Telegram channel. We have a Slack instance where people can ask questions. Of course, email still works, and so on. And we're trying to figure out which tool is going to work best to be in constant communication with the token holders. But of course, we have to inform all shareholders of the infrastructure. We're going to have polls in the Ethereum system where people can vote for certain important decisions of the company, and we're going to announce this on the website when we figured out what's the best tool to do this. So people can get the information. Of course, the information is going to be on the website if we have important upcoming decisions and how they can vote on those decisions. They will basically vote with their token in the smart contract.
Okay. Okay. Now, it could be that the ICO is incredibly successful and you raise a lot more than you'd expected, or it finishes a whole lot quicker and you can go into Guinea, Bissau, and as well as Guinea. But it could also be that, forgive me for saying this, Andreas, but let's say you don't sell enough tokens and you don't have enough even to start with Guinea. In Guinea-Bissau. So
yeah, that's a risk, and we have to see what we do then. And we basically would have to wait until we get enough cash in to do this. Then we might launch a second IPO, or we'll see what we can do. I mean, the worst case, we just close everything down and return the token as a dividend. That's one option, or we return the capital as a dividend. Sure. Using the dividend mechanism, I mean. But I mean, this is then a decision of the shareholders. What we're going to do then?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it is something. I'm saying this because it is something that anybody who wants to buy the tokens needs to consider. There is no guarantee here. From what you're saying, it does sound promising, but like anything in life, there
this
is
is
no
always
guarantee.
with an investment. There's never a guarantee that it works out, but it's our plan to make it work out.
Yes.
And we have been working on it very hard to get the planning done, and we believe it's going to work out. The market is there. It's an incredible market, and we believe we're going to achieve the goals and start building very soon. I mean, everything's ready. We just need the money to now order towers and send people down there to start digging and pouring concrete into the ground to mount all those towers and lay fibers and so on.
Great. Okay. And anything else you want to let us know about the ICO? If people are interested.
No, that's. We had a lot of feedback, and it was a lot of positive feedback that people invest even small amounts. We have a lot of small investors.
Mm-hmm.
I think the smallest investor is like $9, which is interesting. But the thing is, there's one point I want to mention is like we got one comment saying, well, why are your tokens so expensive?
Yes.
Because in the current phase, a token might be something like $16 at the current value of the Ether. And my answer to this is it doesn't matter how expensive or cheap the token is. It's how much do you get in return for this? How much is the token worth if you pay $1 and then there's a gazillion of tokens of it?
Mm-hmm.
Compared to a token which costs $10, which is 1/millionth of a company. So it's always like the value of the token is not the relevant thing. The value of the token, the dollars of the token is not the relevant thing. The question is how much do you get at the other side for investing this dollar? The second thing is, of course, in comparison to the traditional systems, where they want to keep the price of a share low so small investors can get in. The big difference is if you are in cryptocurrency, then you can get 1/10 of a token. Yeah. You can get 1/millionth of a share. It's all variable. While in the traditional system, you cannot have half of a share because a share is a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You cannot cut it in half. So if you have a share like Warren Buffett has, then one share might be $100,000, and this means that somebody who has $1,000 cannot get into this fund because he doesn't have enough money to just buy one single share. And this doesn't apply to the cryptocurrency world, so it doesn't really matter.
No, I get it. I mean, whether I buy a token for $1 or for $10, if that token increases, I don't know, 100 times, well, it's 100 times 1 or 100 times 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's
the thing which people should look at, not the absolute value.
Yes, and this
a lot of people just think of, I'm getting into a lot of coins which are 1/millionth of a dollar worth, and then they have 1 million tokens. But
yes.
They have 1 million tokens out of 1 million trillions. So
yes.
No, doesn't help them at the end either.
I absolutely get it. And it does seem to me that this is a long-term play, and it could be quite lucrative.
Yeah, that's what we hope. It's lucrative in two sides. It's lucrative for us as an investors to invest into this project and to get the return. But it's also lucrative for the people in the country because they get access to much more information. You cannot imagine how access to internet can change the educational level, because people can just use Google to look up something. They can use Wikipedia. They can use teaching videos which are out there on YouTube. And all those things in an environment where the education is not that good, can help people an enormous amount to learn things about the world. And even if it's just to understand their neighbors better, to understand why certain people are behaving in another way because they have a different culture. I mean, this at the end is very beneficial also for the country itself.
Yes, very good. They could log on to YouTube, subscribe to this channel, learn about cryptocurrencies, get some Ethereum, and buy some Cajutel tokens. So they're investing in their own infrastructure.
They could do that, but they cannot do this currently because just to download blockchain of Ethereum, which is like 20 gigabytes, it would take them years.
Wow.
At the current infrastructure. I mean, if you look at this webpage, the Cajutel.io webpage, it's not really a complex webpage.
No.
But the size of this webpage is maybe 2 megabytes, which is the average size of an internet webpage. This takes 2 to 3 minutes to download there. I mean, can you imagine somebody opening YouTube when such a simple page is just taking 2 to 3 minutes to download? It's like impossible to watch YouTube or anything like this currently.
Yeah, Andres, that's the opportunity of it. I have said on previous videos of mine of how that cryptocurrencies generally are at the padang stage of internet. 20 years ago when I first got internet, you had to take the telephone wire out, you put the modem in, it takes ages to load and it makes these funny sounds. And now look at it, if the page doesn't load in an instant second, I'm upset. Whereas before it would take minutes for a simple page like this, or even simpler page.
Yes, and the key point here is to say, in the old days, you were expected to wait, but the pages were also made for people who dial up with the modem to see them in a reasonable time.
Yeah.
Today, people are designing really fancy pages and they load all kinds of analytics library into it, and then some nice graphics and some nice animations and so on. So people are used to use all those features and they completely forget that there are people out there where it takes ages to load this page. So the developers of the web pages, they have forgot that there are people with slow internet.
Right.
And that makes 90% of the internet completely unusable for people in that area.
Yes.
So you can use internet for sending emails. That's about it.
Right. But of course they would want, what's available in Europe and North America and parts of Asia, and once the infrastructure is there, of course it's going to grow and expand. Now, just a couple of other points that have occurred to me. One is to the viewers, just to make sure that they do log on, that they type it in cajutel.io, because you don't want to end up on another a fake website, a phishing website, and send your Ethereum to some other contact address. So make sure it's cajutel.io. The link will be in the description below. And now I've just noticed here at the bottom it says important change.
Yeah, we had to change the smart contracts like very shortly before the ICO, and this was we had given the smart card contract development to an external company who is experts in this. And they called us up and said, well, they detected a potential security flaw in the contract and they wanted to fix it. So, but we already have announced the old address in the system. So we had to put this announcement up that we lock the old contract and we redeploy a modified version of the contract, which is the one you're seeing here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would have sent Ethers to the old contract, it wouldn't have worked because we locked it before the ICO started.
Great. Okay, so it wasn't anybody.
It's just like if people have received an email from us because they signed up saying, yeah, this is the contract address we're going to use, and it started with 0x9 something, then this wouldn't have worked. That's why we had to put up this note here, because we had to replace the contract. It was like half an hour before the ICO started. But
Great.
it's also a security measure, so we are protected from certain attacks.
Great. Very good. Very good. Which is why it's important for people to do their own due diligence and be wary of any fake websites and phishing websites. So make
Yeah.
sure you go to the right website, kajutel.io. Okay, Andres, is there
Yeah, there's
anything
a
else?
second website which is cajutel.gv, where the project description is. So that's also our site. And cajutel.com is actually just another name for the same page.
Great. Okay, is there anything else you want to say or let us know that we haven't covered?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, if you have problems understanding how to send Easters or so, you just can contact us and we can give you some hints. But so far, we have a lot of first-time investors also. People who said, "Oh, how the hell do I buy Ethers first and invest?" But they were able to figure it out. At the end, it's not that difficult. And just to get tokens, you send in tokens to the address, and you send in Ethers to the address, and you get the tokens automatically.
Great. Okay, Andres, listen, thank you so much for taking your time out to speak to me. I know you arranged this at short notice as well. I really, really do appreciate it, and maybe we shall speak again soon, perhaps in a few weeks' time or after the ICO. If there's anything that you need, please do be in touch with me. And a reminder to all my viewers, please do your own due diligence. The cryptocurrency space, this is the Wild West. There is no bank of Bitcoin which will rescue you. Should anything go wrong, you're responsible for your own financial decisions, and I am not a financial advisor. All right, all the best. Bye bye.